Welcome back to exercise 17, section B of What Can I Paint Next art course. This time we're going to be looking at still life or an object with purpose, elements and place. Now, back in exercise 6 in section A, I talked about being inspired by an object, but then there will come a time where you have to actually choose an object to suit a communication. That's what I'm going to get trying to do today. So I'm looking at the communication today, what I'm trying to communicate. And with what's going on around at the moment, I'd like to do a bit of a hopeful painting and something of beauty. And so I had a look round and I found the perfect orchid. It's a beautiful orchid. And then I thought, well, there's one of my elements. But I really started with the purpose, the communication. What am I trying to communicate? And my audience is going to be people who just need a little bit of an uplift at the moment. So very simply, my purpose in this one was or is the communication of being uplifted and showing the beauty of the orchid in an uplifting way. And with it, I'm going to explore the colour. Now, the exploration came a bit further down because, as you'll see, what I had to do was once I found the orchid, I then had to find a setting for this orchid. And I was thinking dark backdrop, light backdrop, like I have done in previous still lives. And I thought, no, I want something a bit dirtier. So I went and had a look in the garage. Then I went and had a look at walls outside. It was a dull and dismal day, so I can do that. And then it was only as I was coming back down the stairs that I actually found the perfect spot for the painting. I'll show you these little video clips now to show you my thought process of how I chose the place. Purpose was communicating hopefulness, elements, an orchid in a run-down, dismal place. That's what I was trying to decide. Here they are. This is the item I've decided on. This orchid, it's an old orchid that has flowered again, and it encompasses beauty and hope, which is exactly what I'm after. Thinking of backgrounds, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to capture something that's the opposite to beautiful, something dark and dingy. So I'm going to have a look in the garage, see if there's any corners I can find in there. It's corners like this I'm after, where it's all dirty and needs cleaning. But obviously this one's not right, it's got the plastic bag. I'll keep looking. Now I quite like this thing here. This sort of talks of summer days that have passed. That and the shovel from the last one are quite interesting. It's a perfect horrible damp day today for doing a dismal background, and this wall I found quite interesting as well. And then I remembered we had this old rotten stump here as well. So yeah, I'm thinking if I just move a couple of pots out of the way. See, I don't want anything to take away from that orchid. And if I move that one off there and move the stick, and if I put the orchid on there and take a few photographs, because I'm not going to sit in the rain and paint it. Let's have a look. That's it. And I think if I mess around with that vertical brick line there, and the horizontal brick line in the back and get the composition right, that will work really well. Oh, I've just come from a different angle now, so I've got more perspective lines on the bricks. And this, as far as something dull and dark in the background so that the orchid pops out, I think this is pretty good. As I was walking back from the garage and I was coming down my steps, I had a look at the wall, and rather than having a really dark background with the orchid fighting against the background, I'm thinking, what about having it with an old distressed lighter wall in the background? I actually prefer this. I can play with the delicacy of the colours a bit more rather than having the background fighting, and I love that shadow of the orchid on the step. So about turn, I'm going to go for this one. So as you can see, I came up with this idea of the orchid sitting on the step, on the cellar steps, and I really enjoyed the fact that because it's a light background, the colours of the orchid really sit well. I think if it was a dark background, those subtle lights in the petals of the orchid would just get drowned out by the darkness of the background, which is why it's so important to get the place sorted as well as what's in the painting. Right, so very quickly, I'll do the planning sheet. Here it is, Section B, Exercise 17, Planning Sheet. The purpose, the exploration is going to be colour, communication, hopefulness, and the beauty of the orchid. The elements is an orchid on a step. The orchid is flowering, beautiful, crisp, in a pink. It's sitting in a pink vase. The step is dirty, chipped, dusty, worn, and it's the difference between those two that it's like wherever there is dirt and dismal and dust and horribleness, you can still get something beautiful. Place, and that's the cellar steps. Darker, dirty, old. I'm going to just put opposite to the orchid. Right, really simply the planning sheet done. What I'm going to do is the thing is, in my photographs and the videos that I did, I pretty much got the composition and everything that I wanted within the photographing. So it was going round and looking at things there. So I don't really need to do any sketches of this. I know it's going to be landscape format. I'm not going to go portrait. I've got the orchid in front of me as a source. So if there's any details or anything I want to really look at. So I might just do a little sketch at the bottom on the sheet, but I don't need to do any organising sketches for this one. So with all that in mind, I'm going to get started. I'll see you in a bit. And here we have the painting for exercise 17, orchid on a step. And the purpose of this one was to be an uplifting painting, and one of the things I explored in it was colour. What I did was I looked at the colour pink or red in it, and I used crimson for most of it, but then I brought out the orchid with magenta. So usually I only use crimson. So in this I just explored a little bit further and got more detail, more prominence in the orchid flower with a bit of magenta. And I wanted to see if I could play with reds and pinks in the whole piece, with using burnt sienna mixed with red in areas to give brickwork and things like that. So that was the colour aspect, and then the uplifting part of it was a beautiful flower sitting on a dusty step. Just that idea that there's always hope for every corner. I did enjoy starting off with the idea of something to communicate, and then went round and looked for something to go with it. I think it can be done both ways. Depends how strongly you feel about either the object that you've found or the concept that you've found. So go with whatever is interesting to you at that time. The other thing I want to point out at the moment is, you may have noticed I'm not really concentrating on painting skills as such in this art course. I've mentioned it all the way through, but I do want to reiterate, I'm not trying to tell you how to paint or tell you how to change your style, or that it's more about giving you decision-making processes so you can explore your own work. All of these exercises can be done looking at line, looking at tone, looking at any of the fundamentals. They can be done looking at concepts that are important to you. They can be done exploring materials, whether that's hot wax, resist, or acrylics, or watercolours, pencil, crayon, pastels, woodwork, whatever. Just the idea is that you're starting to be able to communicate through your art. And that's where we're going to be taking it more and more. Exercise 18 is the PEP with landscape. Taking the idea of a purpose, why am I showing the landscape, or both of those, what am I exploring in it. Could be a concept, could be a material, could be fundamental. Then the elements, what's in it, and the place, where is it set. In this one, where it was sat was actually the really important thing to play around with. So thanks very much for doing this exercise. You can always go back and repeat these exercises with different concepts, with different materials, with different explorations. Enjoy it. Do as many as you want. Right, I'll see you in exercise 18, and I'll see you later. Bye.